about today's class. So as I mentioned, we're going to be talking about micronutrients, and we have 3 micronutrients. And what are they special? Their speciality is that we have energy from them. Yeah. So there's proteins, fats, and carbohydrates, and all 3 of them, they're absolutely essential. So we're going to understand a bit deeper on why they're so essential, why they're important, where to search for them, what are the sources in food, as well as we're also going to dig a bit into the biochemistry and understanding what is the process and how is it all connected in our body. So let's jump into the proteins. In this case, I think that this is the most talked about nutrient from all, especially what comes to sports nutrition. But it is, of course, absolutely essential. But scientifically, like statistically, we see that at least in Latvia, so this is not the nutrient that is lacking for most people. So I wouldn't say that it's overrated, but still, we want to have good sources of proteins, but scientifically, it's not the main one that we should be always, getting obsessed about, even if I may say. But the reason why it is, of course, important and why it's so popular to talk about it, and why we have a lot of research on it, and why a lot of sports people are getting really, really focused on it, is because basically it's a building material. So if we imagine that you're building a house from bricks, then we are building our body from cells. Yeah? And so most of the cells are made from proteins. And so it influences basically all of the systems in our body. It helps us to build hormones, make enzymes, which helps us afterwards with digestion, of course, blood cells, antibodies, which means that it's also very important for a good immune system, as well as DNA. So basically any kind of cell that is generated is made from DNA. Like DNA is kind of giving the info how the cells should behave and how it should look. So collagen and also muscles. Again, one of the reasons why sports people really kind of focus on it, because it helps us to renew the muscles, helps us to build the muscles. And in certain kind of scenarios, proteins can also be used as energy source, which is not the main function, but it can be used in such ways. For an example, we see that after fasting or after having very little energy for longer periods of time, the body uses proteins 2/3. Yeah, so only 1/3 is going to be used from fats, but 2/3 are going to be used from proteins. Yeah, so it's good to know. Again, not very convenient for the body, because it's going to have a lot of how do you say that? So soup products, like basically waste products in the process of that, but it can be done. Yeah, so 2/3. So basically what you need to know about proteins is that proteins are amino acids. So if we see this long chain, this is going to be a protein chain, a polypeptide chain, but it's going to be made from small little pearls, called amino acids. And the kind of ways how they're being made is dependent, again, on the function of that cell, and on the types of amino acids and their combinations. But so we're going to talk about amino acids a bit more, so you understand how does the physiology work in the body. So basically, when we have food like protein-rich food in our digestive system entering it, so we want to get the amino acid from that. So basically, in the gut, there is hydrochloric acid that denatures the protein, unfolds it, and makes it more available for the amino acid chain to be worked with around enzymatic action. So then in the same gut, we have enzyme pepsin, which helps us to then entangle it and make it as oligopeptide chains. Then in duodenum, Yeah, we have already enzymes that pancreas is made that helps it to digest it to three peptides, dipeptides, and individual amino acids. And then when it's already individual amino acids, then some parts of it are going to synthesize intestinal enzymes and new cells, but some parts are going to enter the bloodstream and then being transported to whatever cells or to whatever organs are needing more amino acids. So there are two things that influence how much amino acids do we need. First thing is that it's nitrogen needs. Yeah, so we see that in the amino group there is the N. Yeah, so it's nitrogen. So basically, that's one of the things, actually one of the most important things that defines how much of the nutrient we're going to need. And then the second thing is the need for amino acids. So we could make new cells. We're going to need these amino acids, certain kinds. We're going to talk about it. But so it also depends on the digestibility. Yeah. So how well we can digest this protein. And it really depends on certain kind of functions. And so the first thing about nitrogen balance, in normal circumstances, we're going to have nitrogen in balance between nitrogen consumption and nitrogen excretion, yeah, for grown-ups. But there are going to be situations where there is more building happening than degrading. And this is going to happen in situations where there is growth present, yeah, for children or pregnancy. Also when you're going through rehabilitation or after fasting. And there also can be situations where there is more degrading happening than building. Yeah? And that would be a situation of trauma or disease or in situation of fasting. And then when we talk about this availability, as we mentioned before, it also depends on the source of the amino acid or protein. And we see that actually the availability is unfortunately less for plant-based proteins than for animal-based proteins for most of the cases. We see that, for an example, milk, egg, wheat, yeah, and a little bit less beef, yeah. So it's basically going to be like the best absorption. But plant-based proteins, yeah, such as, for an example, chickpeas, fruits, vegetables, legumes, cereals, yeah, they're going to have a lower availability. The exemption would be soy protein, yeah, or soy product, because they're actually going to have like most of the essential amino acids as well. But it's not like that we should only eat animal-based proteins because of that. There is ways how we can tackle that and work with that so we get maximum benefit from that as well. But the situation is that there are three types of amino acids. Actually, in the world, we have we have hundreds of amino acids. But for us, for humans, we can only use 20. Yeah, so only 20 are familiar. And then there are, again, three different types. There is the essential amino acid, which must be obtained from the diet, from the food. We have to have it because we are making our cells from it. Then there is non-essential amino acids, where basically we can make these amino acids from any other ones. And then there's conditionally essential amino acids, which are only essential, or we need to obtain it from food, only in certain kind of times of illness, stress, or growth. Let's talk about animal and plant-based proteins again. So we saw that the availability of amino acids would be more for animal-based proteins. But, as everything in life, it has benefits and downsides. Yeah, so there are some benefits. In that case, amino acid protein would be having all essential amino acids. Well, basically, we are meat. Yeah, so if we're going to get protein from amino acids from animal-based proteins, it's going to be easy to digest that. But the downside of that is that animal-based proteins would contain more saturated fats, which normally in an omnivore's diet we have plenty of, yeah, and even sometimes we have more than necessary, and that can also be a risk factor.